Consider this. Parents are called into the principal's office. Their child is 12 years old, and the principal says this child has been involved in a theft, that she or he has stolen something from the accounts office. Both the parents are shocked. And they said, that is impossible. It is not possible. We have enough money. There is no way our child will, and these are not the kind of values our child has. There is no reason at all why this child would do this. And there's been some mistake, some misunderstanding. The principal then shows them the CCTV footage, which clearly shows that the child is actually involved in some kind of theft. Now the proof is there in front, but they are not ready to accept. They say there is something wrong with the footage. Either it's been doctored or the child has been forced into something like this. There's something like that. The principal explains that they have gone into this, they have inquired, and it was not a joke, it was not a dare, but the child genuinely wanted to steal something. Now, it could be a medical condition, perhaps kleptomania. She didn't want to get into all that. But there was definite proof in the form of CCTV footage that the child had been involved in stealing. Now, the parents are not ready to accept, come what may. You find that their father gets angry, mother starts crying, both of them start shouting, and there's a very unhappy scene. What is happening over here? Where is belief and where is fact in this situation? The fact is the CCTV footage, unedited, undoctored. That is fact. What the child is doing, which is clearly an act of stealing, now you can camouflage it, you can give it some form of euphemism, you can go ahead, but that's another story. But the child is doing something which at that time and that space is unacceptable. And it is something that would be dubbed as stealing. Why can't the parents accept? What is getting in the way of that acceptance? The shock, the belief that their child can't steal, or the inability to express. So emotions are getting in the way of accepting the actual situations. Now, let's try and understand, let's try and analyze what are the kind of emotions that are going to get in the way, and why is it that the parents simply can't accept this, at least in the beginning. They're too shocked. So first thing which is violated is their trust, their belief. Their belief that their child could not do something like this, which to their mind and everybody else's, it is immoral. Getting into what's moral, what's not. But let's just say that this act of stealing is immoral. And the child has been caught in the act. Now, parents can't accept because there is an emotional investment, because there is a belief that their child can't do this. Now, why is this belief? That's the second level of probing or analysis or understanding that we should be getting into. So, one is that there is a certain idea, a certain premise, a certain belief they've held about their child throughout their lives or the life of the child. Now, they've not seen their child do something like this. They can't believe that their child does something like this. Maybe the child has been surreptitious about it. Maybe the parents don't know. Maybe this was the first time. Maybe the child has been doing this earlier, but they are not aware of it. At any rate, this is a shocker for them. So the shock of reality, fact, is clashing with their belief, with their notion of their child. What happens in a belief? There's a lot of emotion involved. And especially when your child is in the picture, of course, there's a lot of emotion involved. Now, even though the facts speak for themselves, their belief cannot help them to accept that fact. The CCTV footage, they don't want to accept it. They are coming up with all kinds of ideas, excuses, alternatives, anything but accept that the child has been actually caught red-handed. So whether this is real, whether it's not, what could be the reasons, that's not the subject of this discussion. What we're trying to understand is why the parent cannot accept a fact. How is it that belief is getting in the way of the acceptance of reality? Now, it's not just parents not able to accept the reality of their child. But, and this is a hypothetical example, but if going back, I mean, there was a time when people actually believed the earth was flat. So when Galileo came around and when Copernicus gave his theory, the idea that the earth is not the center of the solar system, of the whole universe, that man, the human being, is not the center, was a shocker. The whole belief system was shaken up. And that's why people who spoke against it, well, got into a lot of trouble. Not going into that. But what we're trying to say and what we're trying to understand is how our emotional investment in a belief often prevents us from accepting the fact. So that's something we need to look when we are looking at life, when we're looking at our own minds. How is it that a certain belief can get in the way of accepting reality? That if we are too emotionally invested in something, can we do we wear blinkers? Does our belief become a blinker? Does it become tinted lenses so that we can't actually see the world clearly and accept reality for what it is? What are the beliefs that we have? Let's do a small exercise as a introspective exercise, that a couple of beliefs we hold very strongly, and what would happen if there was proof against it.